Did you know oysters have a superpower? They filter water as they feed. A single oyster can filter up to 50 gallons of water a day. Also in a day, an acre of oyster reef can filter 36 Olympic swimming pools of water. New York Harbor was once filled with oyster reefs. They helped clean the water, protect the shoreline, and provide habitat for marine life. But today, the water is so gross, you can't even eat oysters from there. Let's dive in to figure out what happened to New York's oysters and how one group is trying to bring them back. Picture it, New York City, the late 1800s. The city is growing, and so is its appetite for oysters. Oyster carts are as common as hot dog carts are nowadays. Oyster barges are docked in the East River. You can get all-you-can-eat oysters for just 6 cents. New York Harbor has about 250 square miles of oyster beds. And New Yorkers were eating roughly 1 million oysters every day. Until we ate them all. In a matter of 100 years, people ate practically all the native oysters in New York Harbor. And during that time, we started polluting the water, dumping raw sewage into the harbor, to the point where in 1927, the city's last oyster beds closed and restaurants had to switch to cleaner sources. Fast forward to today, and the water is slightly cleaner, thanks in part to the Clean Water Act of 1972. Animals like whales and dolphins are returning to the East River after a 100-year absence. So maybe it's time for an oyster comeback too. Enter the Billion Oyster Project. Their goal is to restore 1 billion oysters to New York Harbor by 2035.
We want to rebuild that lost landscape.
To do that, they're collecting oyster shells from restaurants. You know, the ones that would normally get tossed after you eat them.
So we work with about 80 restaurants. They put aside their oyster shells from the regular service, and then we work with the Lobster Place, which is a direct-to-restaurant seafood distributor. They pick up the used shells and bring them to us on Governor's Island, where we cure the shells, and then the shells become the building blocks of our reefs.
The shells sit in this heap for over a year to help eliminate bacteria and pathogens. Then they serve as a foundation for baby oysters to latch onto. Once the babies start to grow, they can go into the harbor as part of the reef. Billion Oyster Project says they've collected over 2 million pounds of recycled shells.
So far, we've restored about 125 million oysters on almost 20 acres of harbor bottom over the last 10 or so years. So we have 880 million to go before we get to 1 billion, but we're well on our way.
But the goal isn't just to restore oyster reefs. It's to get New Yorkers to care about restoring oyster reefs and help do the hard work too.
We've engaged tens of thousands of New Yorkers as volunteers, as students, teachers, corporate groups. We try to get everyone we can involved. We believe that the best way to build awareness and affinity for the natural world is to play a role in making it better.
And that starts with educating the youngest New Yorkers about their environment. Billion Oyster Project put together a STEM curriculum that can be used by any New York City public middle school. And they work with the Harbor School to mentor students in maritime careers.
Restoring ecosystems without engaging young people is temporary. If we actually want to affect long-term outcomes, positive outcomes for the natural environment, we have to engage young people in that work.
And so New Yorkers, young and old, like myself, are coming out to help Billion Oyster Project inch towards its goal. But even with 1 billion oysters in the harbor, will it ever be like it was before our oyster binging days?
It'll never be like it was 500 years ago. That's not going to happen. But we could have a clean harbor as soon as enough New Yorkers raise their voices and stop being okay with the current status quo, which is pouring raw sewage into the harbor every time it rains. So that's a big part of the work that we're doing, is trying to get people excited about the harbor, knowing that the harbor is a natural resource that every New Yorker should have access to, every New Yorker should find valuable and work to protect.